Hi there guys, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero Show with me, your host Simon Conboy. Today's episode is a game review, this one focusing on the matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Arizona Cardinals, with the Cardinals running out 38-33 winners in one of the stranger games of this season. No, we can probably say it about several games that occurred on Sunday. As always, I'm going to go through the matchup, discussing what went well, what didn't go so well for both teams, analysing the key plays and key sort of things that occurred over the course of the game, and sort of analysing where both teams go from here. And this is a really weird game to analyse because it was really poor. I think if you've seen the Bucs banter episode from earlier in the week, you'll have a rough idea of my feelings on this one. It was a really sloppy game. The Buccaneers defence put in one of the worst first halves of the season, unable to make any kind of stops, mainly due to just massive glaring mistakes. The Cardinals looked reasonably sharp, but frankly the Buccaneers defence was playing so poorly. As sort of highlighted there were several plays, particularly the runs. Adrian Peterson had a lot of yards in this game. They pretty much all came on the first three drives. After that, the Buccaneers remembered how to play run defence, and from then on it looked like a normal game. But before that, we're looking at a team that was struggling to keep any form of contain, was struggling to make basic run fits, and as a result, Peterson had several very easy breakaway runs, a lot of them just hitting up into the hole, guys over pursuing to the inside or taking bad pursuit angles, and him managing to escape. The touchdown on the opening drive came from one of those runs up the middle, and the linebacker just simply not filling the gap, and him breaking through clean on what really should have probably been a 1 or 2 yard gain. So that was really the beginning of it. Buccaneers then lost Jameis Winston on a play that I thought was offside. It was a clean hit though, and injured his shoulder. He ended up missing the rest of the game. I feel if the game had been close, they may have kept him in, but considering the game was, I believe, 21-0, I think, at the point they pulled him. And early on in this one, the Bucs offense sort of doing what they usually do, starting pretty slowly. The run game wasn't able to get going. Guys were struggling to get open. Cardinals were getting a little bit of rush. Again, the Buccaneers not dealing with the blitz particularly well. Second touchdown was the other issue the Buccaneers defence was having in the first half. Just playing zone coverages and playing them badly. They were struggling to do anything against the run, but every time Carson Palmer dropped back, there was someone wide open very early on in routes. You can argue the pass rush wasn't there, but I don't think they were given particularly many opportunities to get rush in that first half. There were guys, particularly Larry Fitzgerald, on several of these plays, and the coverage busts and guys just not being covered with any kind of aggression. Far too soft. Hargrave's been guilty of it all year. Continued, wasn't really picked on in this one, but so much over the middle that Larry Fitzgerald put up ridiculous numbers. His touchdown coming off of a bust on a play action, which looks like TJ Ward has the zone, and he just goes ploughing up, leaving Larry Fitzgerald wide open and on his own in the end zone. The second touchdown, an example of the soft coverage, where Troy Nicholas just comes off the line of scrimmage and just gets a ball thrown to him. The safeties are in the end zone. There's nothing they can really do. And it was like that early. No one was contested coming off the line of scrimmage. There were several busts. The play I've used as the best example of this, I think, was one where I think it was Brown on the outside. You've got Grimes there. And a safety over the top. They both go with him. Larry Fitzgerald comes underneath them. There's no one anywhere near him, and that goes for a big gain. Just multiple plays along those lines, and the game was 24-0 at half time. Buccaneers could have got some points back, but went for it on fourth down. basic pass really should have been completed, just a little drag in type route to Mike Evans that Ryan Fitzpatrick wasn't able to complete. It felt like if he'd managed to, the Bucs may have had a shot at this in this game. They got the ball first, start the second half. They'd have been down 24-7. Not likely, but you have a shot at that point. But no, the Bucs come out, continue where they left off with Ryan Fitzpatrick heaving an ugly interception into double coverage. The Cardinals take advantage, get themselves another touchdown. And even then, this one's another really strange play where John Brown, Palmer's under some pressure. The Bucs defense playing much better in the second half. And he's under pressure. He throws it out to the right where Brown is, a couple of yards from the end zone. Justin Evans is there. It looks like the play is going to be a pick, but he totally loses track of the ball, runs into the end zone for some reason. Brown ends up with an easy catch. This could easily have been a pick six, but alas it wasn't. And so to compound that, you then had a horrible pick from Carson Palmer. I think it was before that, where just greedy on first down, was getting hit, but threw into a tight window where there were two guys there. Brent Grimes with an easy interception. And from that point on, the roles reversed. The Buccaneers started to play significantly better on both sides of the ball, and the Cardinals started to play horribly. With the Cardinals, the offensive line went back to the line that we've seen for the majority of the year, holding on what felt like every other play, getting beat very quickly. The Buccaneers got quite a lot of pass rush in the second half, struggling to open any running lanes. Peterson was kept very quiet from that point on, and this allowed the Bucs into the game. The Cardinals decided to start playing pretty soft defensively, ended up allowing the Bucs into this back in. The key point in the game that realistically ended any hopes of the comeback were the Bucs being backed up. If they'd scored, they would have been within one score at that point. I believe it was 31 to, I think, might be 20, and Ryan Fitzpatrick drops back and throws an interception at the 1 yard line. Bit of a strange pick, both players getting the ball almost simultaneously, but as the defender's going down, he's got it clutched to his body. One of Evans' arms comes off the ball. I think it was the right call, just a bit of a strange play. I don't think I've seen one happen quite like that before, and that gave the Cardinals an easy 1 yard touchdown run to put the game away. But they can't feel too great about how that second half went. A good team does not let this happen. They saw it last week. The Eagles got a similarly big lead early in that game, and the Cardinals never came close. The Cardinals really struggled, especially once Patrick Peterson left the field. Bucs receivers started getting open, making catches. Cameron Brate had another big day. Mike Evans had a big touchdown catch right at the end, a little bit too late. Sean Jackson had a couple of big grabs. But Fitzpatrick was just kind of off on a lot of throws. Didn't play terribly, but didn't look great. Doug Martin looks good running with the ball, but it was just shut down early. The Cardinals were run blitzing. The Bucs did not do a good job of getting out of those situations. It looked pretty clear the Cardinals' plan was take away the run. In fact, just blitz and force the Buccaneers to adjust to it. Once again, they didn't. It's been a complaint I've had about this team for a while, and it's not changed. They need to start accounting for that method of attack, whether it's Jameis, whether it's the play calling. It's more likely both, but it is something that this team needs to address, so they're just going to keep on seeing it, particularly when you look at next week's game against Buffalo. They've been happy to blitz this year, so they should probably expect to see more of that. Jameis, good news for the Bucs. It looks like he's going to be back healthy. It was very difficult to judge what the Buccaneers' offensive game plan was going into this, simply because they were behind so early and by so many points that I'm not sure. Clearly, they thought they'd be able to stop Adrian Peterson with the front seven and play soft zones. I mean, they were able to in the second half. In the first half, they were just utterly terrible. Just incredibly frustrating to watch. And the Cardinals, they came out looking to run the ball and establish it. They had that first drive, had great success doing it, and they were able to pick up chunks of yardage through the air off of that. It's the first time they've been able to run play action properly, in all season really, and they had some success off it. A couple of big plays down the field, including one to John Brown, the touchdown to Larry Fitzgerald. And in the first half, their game plan worked a treat, compiled by how poor the Bucs were, but it's try not to take away too much from Arizona. They executed very well on the offensive side of the ball, and defensively they were playing pretty well at that stage as well. But to see it all come apart in the second half like that, it's got to raise some concerns, I think, if you're an Arizona fan. Analysing, the sort of X and O's for the Bucs. I mean, they've just got to play better. It's a tough game to analyse because of it was so sort of strange the way it went down. These slow starts can't continue to happen. It's been a feature for 2 or 3 years now. This team falls into these big holes, looking eerily similar to last season, where the Buccaneers started 2-3 and lost some games that were very winnable there, and they just weren't able to put it together. At this point, both of these teams, I'm not sure what their identity is, and you can't really hang your hat on one group for either of these teams and say those guys are playing really well. There's players that are having good seasons. Tyvon Branch for the Cardinals playing very well this year. Palmer's and Fitz are both playing fine for the Buccaneers. They're getting production from Cameron Brate's playing great. Evans has been solid. He's had some tough matchups. Gerald McCoy's playing great, but there's no individual unit for these teams that you can think on a weekly basis they're going to turn up and they're going to perform well. We saw the Cardinals offensive line play one half where we thought maybe these guys have figured something out, but then that second half happens and they just can't do anything. It's just penalty after penalty, along with a ton of pressures. The Buccaneers defensive line is just fits and spurts. They play well for phases and badly. I mean, the Bucs, you can say that about them as a whole. The secondary is clearly a big problem. Quan Alexander should be coming back next week. The Bucs need him clearly. We saw a similar last year when he was suspended. One of the key catalysts that defense turning around was getting Quan Alexander back in the lineup. It's, I think, apparent at this point that he is essential. Clearly the team doesn't do a great job making adjustments on the field, which I guess you lose a middle linebacker, but they need to get someone that can fill that role. I'd have thought Levante David could do that from the right linebacker spot. He had a big touchdown in this game, managed to force a couple of fumbles, won a great play on Larry Fitzgerald after a very short catch, managing to strip the ball out, get a TD. Here's his token touchdown for the year. That was really the play that kind of gave the Bucs a sliver of hope in this one. But they weren't ever truly able to capitalise on it after the interception at the 1 yard line. But he's not necessarily able to handle it. There's communication issues in this game clearly. And I think whilst they've had problems in the secondary, I'm not sure that's been a problem until Sunday's game. They need to get that sorted. You look at the Cardinals defensively, they're kind of middling, struggling to get rush, which you'd expect with Marcus Golden being down, having to blitz, generate pressure. The rookie's looking good. Hassan Reddick, though, that's something for them to be relatively pleased with. Tyrann Mathieu not playing particularly well at this point. They need him to step up, and they need to get Nkemdiche back in the lineup, and he needs to continue to improve. If this defence is going to go anywhere, that's going to have to be it. And I can't see this offense becoming more consistent. Peterson, I think he'll help to a degree. He'll hold the fort down in the hope David Johnson returns. But I'm not particularly confident in this team. And similarly with the Bucs, they've just got to find an identity at this point, because they just do not have one. The offensive line has been better than I expected, but it's not playing great. But frankly, this passing attack has been a disappointment considering all the weapons that are there. Statistically, it looks good, but part of that's because of they're having to chase games because of these bad starts, and there's those hot and cold streaks throughout. So it's a lot of same old, same old. Normally, I'm a bit more thorough with my analysis of a game, but this one, I just rewatched it. I've watched it 3 times now, and I'm really not sure what was going on with this one. Once the Cardinals, couldn't run the ball, they weren't too interested in putting it up in the air. The Bucs started to make some plays. Palmer started making some bad decisions. He was under pressure in the second half, so that really changed things. And it's been more. That second half was very much in line with what we've seen from the Cardinals for the majority of the season. Buccaneers offense, once they were playing soft, these receivers, they're talented, they're able to get open, but there's got to be. I mean, the scripting of plays is clearly a problem because this team is not coming out and starting games well at all, particularly in the run game. In most games it feels like it gets going, but it's usually getting going a bit too late. So yeah, major concerns for both of these teams. They're looking very sort of average to low end of average, no consistency between them. And they'll both be hoping that things get better. One of my stranger analysis episodes, but this was a very, very strange game. So there you have it. Let us know, what did you think of this one? Obviously, the Hall of Famers that the Cardinals have, the 2 future Hall of Famers, did the business in this one. Buccaneers, a lot of questions. It's been a very disappointing start to the season for both of these teams, but I feel for the Buccaneers in particular. The Cardinals are basically roughly what I thought they were going to be heading in. But yeah, very disappointing loss. Bucs have the Bills next week. They have to win that one, or you'd think it's going to be a long season. And the Cardinals, they got the Rams. If they win that one, they're right back in the thick of things in a fairly poor NFC. But let us know, what did you think of this game? Any particular things you spotted in this one? Give us a shout. We've got the comment section below, the Cover Zero Facebook page. You can find me on Twitter @SimonConboy. Always happy to talk football. If you've enjoyed this, plenty more on the channel. We did the podcast today, the roundtable. They're always laugh to do. Got Bucs talk Bucs banter every week, and the Titan show with Arnie. Game reviews, game previews going up all the time. So like, share, subscribe, check out the page and all that. It'd be thoroughly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. Always a pleasure to do these. Have a great day and go Bucs.